Yeah. So let's start over again because I actually started the video and couldn't remember what week we were on. Week 8, everybody. And this video is going to be a little bit different because I feel like this is a pretty important milestone to be 2 months in. And I feel also like things are changing a little bit. Like it's not really a day-to-day kind of, oh, how am I going to get through this day situation anymore. Like it's definitely become my lifestyle. And I thought maybe I would share a little bit about what my whole journey has been like, just in case anybody can relate. Because I really, like, I was starting to think I was never, ever, ever going to be able to lose this weight. And I was never, ever, ever going to be able to reclaim the version of me that I knew that I was. Like, I used to be an athlete. I mean, not like a competitive athlete, but I used to be a runner. I'm a runner again. But I used to run, I ran a marathon in 2005. And then after that, I used to run half marathons a couple times a year for a long time, for like 10 years. And I have 4 children. And I had my 4th child right before I turned 40. And it was just different. Like it just, with my first 3 children, I was always able to lose the weight. And then with my 4th, it just wouldn't come off. Or let's see, am I being truthful? I don't think I'm really being truthful here. What would happen is I would do what I needed to do to lose the weight, and then I just couldn't. Like it just felt like I couldn't do the things that I used to do. I couldn't like punish my body, and I couldn't deprive myself. I just couldn't do it anymore. I was over it. I was older. I was tired. I just was like, I can't just do, chicken breast and broccoli and, work out in the gym for an hour and a half after running 45 minutes in the morning. Like that was what I had done to get myself back to the weight I was on my wedding day, which I had done before I had my 4th child, FYI. Right after he was born, or like a few months after he was born, I did try to do it. Like after the healing period had ended, I did. And I got maybe all of it, the weight off except for like 35 pounds. And then we went on our first family vacation, and then it was kind of off to the races. And that was sort of the thing. Like it wasn't a lifestyle. It was more like an on-off switch. And so if it was somebody's birthday or if we were on vacation, then, it was on. And then I would try and like scramble, and get it back together. But like there was always something, right? It was always somebody's birthday. I got 4 kids. And it was always some kind of holiday or some kind of vacation. My family likes to travel. And so it really got harder and harder and harder because the on times I wasn't, or I should say the off times where we weren't eating like that, I wasn't willing to like do the really punishing dieting that where I would be losing, 3 or 4 pounds a week. And the on times were lasting longer. And, I don't know if it was because I was getting older or whatever, but I would gain all the weight back and then some. And also, there was a lot of stress in my life. I have a business and, 4 kids and everything else. And so in 2016, I tried a program called Ideal Protein, and it worked. It really worked. Like I got back down to a size 12 in about 4 months. And I felt great. I was living in Florida at the time. And then we decided to move. But even before we decided to move, I was like, I know this. I know how to do this. I got this. I can do this on my own. And my husband was like, are you sure you should, you're not done. You're not, in a very gentle way. And I just was like, I can do it on my own. I wasn't able to do it on my own. We moved, gained all the weight back plus 30 pounds. So this time last year, I was just actually going through my journals yesterday, and this time last year, I was 40 pounds heavier than I am today. And my all-time high. And I was, I think, in a size 20 or 22 pants, and I was in like 3X, but I was like starting to wear like 4 and 5X just because I wanted everything to be so swimmy baggy, or just baggy. So by the way, this is the caramel macchiato with a scoop of collagen. Oh, so good. Anyway, I'm gonna put cinnamon in it next time, though. I think it'd be great with a little kick. Anyway, so I don't know if anybody's gonna be really interested in this whole story, but I realized this morning that, you know, it might be good to share it for myself, and if nothing else. So so I gotta say, like, getting to that point was so discouraging. But something else happened, which was really, I think, an important part of this journey. In December of 2019, I was talking to one of my mentors, and I had this realization that that when I wasn't adhering to some kind of like diet program or, you know, exercise program, I was really mean to myself in my head. And probably, you know, people who overheard my kind of self-talk too, but I was really mean to myself in my head. And I didn't do that really in other areas of my life, but I really did that there. And for the first time, I was able to see that that was like really wrong, and that I was loving myself with conditions. Like, I was conditionally loving myself, that if you behave, you are worthy of being, you know, talked to in a nice way and thought about in a nice way. And so I also realized that I probably was doing that in other areas of my life, like with my kids and with my husband and, you know, with my friends and stuff. I was probably doing that in a whole bunch of places. And so I vowed to stop. Like, as soon as I realized it, I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. And I had a session scheduled with a new trainer, and she said, we're not going to really think about like the number on the scale. We're not going to really think about anything but like how strong you are. And that's going to be our measurement, is how strong you are. And it felt so good that I would be measured that way, because that's the way I like to measure myself, that I signed up for like 5 days a week. And I started working with her 5 days a week, and she started helping me with nutrition too. And for the first 6 months, now this is all going through the pandemic, people. For the first 6 months, I worked out 5 days a week. Now, a lot of that was at home, but we figured out what I could do at home. And I have rings, and I have, you know, bands and a punching bag, and I have all this stuff. And for the first 6 months, that's what I did. And for the first 6 months, we didn't worry about how many calories I was consuming. We didn't. She just wanted me to get into the habit of logging what I was eating. And so I did that. And there were days where it was a lot, you know, 2,400 or 2,800, or, you know, and from somebody who had been, you know, the only time I was having success was if I was eating like, you know, 800 or 900 calories a day. That was a lot. And so, but I didn't allow myself to freak out, and I started to enjoy food again, and I started to enjoy cooking again, and I started to pay attention to food again, and pay attention to what I was putting into my body, and I started to let go of the need to like steal a bite of this, and not, you know, if nobody's paying attention, it doesn't count, and that kind of stuff. And then after 6 months, you know, that was when I reached my highest weight. Like, when I finally did say, okay, I need to get on the scale and see what's happening, because I'm not trying to get to the number in my head that was like, I'm not trying to get there. And she and I decided on what would be a reasonable number, and I had the information of like, you know, how much I usually had, and I was willing to take a couple hundred calories off of that. And so we came up with a range, and for a couple of months I just tried to stay in that range, and I didn't worry about anything else. And then a couple months after that, she was like, well, let me give you some macro percentages just to have in your mind. And if you hit them, you hit them. And if you don't, you don't. And so for that whole year, pretty much, that's what I did. And by the end of the year, I had a calorie range and I had macros, and most days I hit them, and there were days that I totally didn't. We went to the East Coast for an entire month, and most days I hit them, and there were days that I totally didn't. And like, I want to tell you, I used to go away for 4 days and I would gain 10 pounds, and I'm not even exaggerating. And we went away for a month and I like gained a pound. And that was, I almost cried. I couldn't believe that I had become someone who knew how to take care of herself, like instinctively knew how to take care of herself. Like I had learned how to take care of myself. And I had also learned that dieting was a trap, and that if I dieted, I would gain weight. It was like complete paradox. That like it was sold to me that if I dieted, I would lose weight, but that the truth was if I dieted, I would gain weight. And by dieted, I mean if I deprived myself, if I punished myself, if I restricted, I would gain weight. And so by the end of the year, I started, feeling like, okay, I want to apply what I now know, and I want to lose weight. And so I kind of tried for the first couple months of 2021. I really tried, and it wasn't happening. It wasn't budging. I had been seeing a naturopath, and I was on all these great supplements that were making me feel so much better, so much more energy. I'm on like a cortisol supplement, an adrenal supplement, and progesterone. And so, I'm in menopause, or perimenopause, whatever. And so all these supplements are making me feel really great, but I still wasn't losing any weight. And by I wasn't losing any weight, I mean like I was losing like 2 pounds a month, which is weight. And so I did lose, after that peak that I had, after the 6 months of like eating whatever I wanted, I did lose like 15 pounds in 6 months, in 7-8 months. Like what I was like, this is going to be really too hard for me. And so I started to really pray for like, what am I going to do? I want my program. And my naturopath suggested the HCG diet. And I was like, okay, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. And my trainer was like, no. And my doctor was like, no, there's like no studies really to support that. I don't have a problem with it. I'm sure it works for a lot of people. So my thing is, like, I feel like any program is a program that can work, but it's not necessarily the program for you. And so all the signs in my life were like, no, to this HCG diet. And my doctor was like, I've heard of this thing called Optavia that some of my patients have had success with. And it just sounded like a diet. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And then I had reconnected with a friend of mine from high school. And at the end of it all, she told me that Optavia had like completely changed her life. And I still was like, this is like a diet. This is like Ideal Protein all over again, which, hello, Ideal Protein worked for me. Like, why would I have that reaction? I don't know. But then the third thing, and for me, things come in threes. The third thing was that I was like kind of scrolling through Facebook, and I saw my ex-boyfriend's wife, and she was like holding up her swimsuit from last year and like her swimsuit from this year, or was she holding up her swimsuit from last year, and she had on the swimsuit from this year, and she had lost like all this weight, and it was Optavia again. And I was like, all right, I'm going to pay attention. And so I was just willing to just talk to her. I was like, okay, let's just have a conversation. And it was kind of like when I talked to my trainer, like everything that she said about the way that Optavia focuses on, the mind, the body. And it's funny because Optavia focuses on, I think, mind, body, and finances. And that's interesting to me because in my coaching, I focus on mind, body, and spirit. And for me, if and when I'm coaching, I'm going to make sure it's okay with Amber and Optavia. I'll still have the finances piece because I have built a lot of wealth in my life, but I will also focus on the spirit piece for those who are open to it, because that is something that has really infused magic into my whole journey. And so here we are, like 8 weeks later. I because of the work that I had been doing with my CrossFit trainer, I was like, I only had a day where it was difficult, and like 2 weeks into it or 3 weeks into it, I had this crazy treadmill experience where I started running again, and like everything just started flooding back to me. Like all the things that I wanted I started playing tennis again, and I started having energy again, and I started, I don't know, it worked for me. And the week to week videos kind of show how it worked. But the fact of the matter is, I am now, this is maybe what you've been waiting for, 24 plus pounds lighter than I was when I started. Like my loss this week was like relatively small, 1.2 pounds, but it was a loss. And believe me when I tell you, that was what I would have lost all month when I was doing this before. And most important, regardless of whether it's 1.2 pounds or 3.2 pounds or 8.2 pounds or whatever, it's that this is my life now. Just like when I was doing the work that I was doing with my trainer, and it just became my life. And when it becomes your life, you're golden. Like, I know for the rest of my life, I'm going to instinctively know how to eat, how to exercise, and I'm going to do it in a way that feels like I'm loving myself. That's the big difference between now and all those many years ago when I lost all the weight before I got pregnant with my 4th child. The big difference is that everything I do today, including Optavia, is done from loving myself. And it feels so much sweeter when it's done that way. So today is a running day, and normally I would run, but I have a retreat in 1 hour and 17 minutes and a call with my family, my siblings and my mom, in 17 minutes. And so instead, I'm going to go put my socks and shoes on, I'm going to finish my Optavia, and I'm going to get on the treadmill while I talk to my family. And I'll walk, but I'll mostly walk, and maybe I'll run a little bit. Maybe I'll only do that for a half an hour, and then maybe later in the day I'll do it, or maybe I won't, but I trust myself, and I love myself. And I'm already a winner. I've already won. No matter how long it takes this external shell to match who I know I am on the inside, it's already done. So I hope that you'll keep watching. Maybe you'll share this with somebody in your life who might be struggling. And because it's going to be really cool. I'm really, really excited to share the rest of this journey with you. And it may be long, like we're going to Ocean City in 2 months. I'm so excited. And I had hoped that I would be close to Wonderland by the time we went. And I probably, maybe I won't. We have about 8 weeks until we go. The likelihood is I'll probably be 15 pounds lighter. So I might not be in Wonderland yet, but I'll feel better than I do today, and I'll feel a whole lot better than I did last year, and I'll have a really rockin' good time. And so I'm super excited. So anyway, this was a little bit longer than I thought it was gonna be, and maybe lots of people will watch it and find this whole series inspiring and helpful. And maybe it'll just be me watching it when I need to remember how this version of me felt and get a little bit of inspiration from me. But I'm grateful to be able to share my story, and I'm grateful for my story because I love my life and I love Optavia. And I just think if you're thinking about doing a program and it's resonating with you in some way, go for it. It's a very, very solid program with support, community support, coaching support. It's a holistic program with food that's pretty yummy, and it works if you work it. That's all for me. I'll see you next week.